Okay, hey everybody. I'm Dr. Aimee Baron. We are doing a really quick live this evening with Melissa Lindsey, who is the founder and executive director of Donor Conceived Community. She's a really wonderful person to talk about all of the different feelings and the different aspects that a person who has been a donor recipient, all the different things that they're feeling and they're going through. So I really wanted to bring her on to have her talk a little bit about her work and a little bit about this this kind of situation, because the benefits we know and the research shows that it is better. We're talking about third-party reproduction this week, and that psychologically for the child, that it is better to have these kinds of discussions with your child from the time that they are very young and not to wait. However, that wasn't always the case, and there's new research about this out now. And because it wasn't always the case, there are Lori Metz, who was on earlier in the week, talked about a number that was in the millions of donor conceived children that are currently in the United States, and that number is only growing. So I'm waiting here for Melissa, and she's going to talk to us a little bit about her work and how we as a community can support people who are donor conceived, and in general, what kind of supports they need for them. So let me figure out where she is. Hold on, guys. Give me a second. Give me a second. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. I'm hoping that she comes on. She knows she's supposed to be here. So, and she's here. Excellent. I love the way that happens. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Hi, great. I'm trying to adjust.
Yes, here. The adjusting is all about the fun. That's exactly the way it is.
How are you?
I am good. I'm glad that we're finally getting to do this. It was all my fault earlier, guys. We had to postpone, so it had nothing to do with Melissa. So I want everybody to know that now. But okay, let's just jump right into it. Melissa, please introduce yourself.
So my name is Melissa Lindsey. I live in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm a donor conceived person and the founder of Donor Conceived Community, which is a support resource for donor conceived people, but also for people who are connected to donor conception, parents, professionals, people who would like to learn about the topic. So
excellent. Yeah. So just, as a bit of background, obviously you gave us, a 5-second of your bio that you are a donor conceived person. I'm just curious, when did you find out that you were a donor conceived person?
Yeah, so I am what would be called a late discovery person. I found out, I was 39 when I found out, and I had 3 kids already. And so it came out accidentally in my family. And so then I had a journey of trying to figure out what it meant, who I was related to. And so it was quite the journey.
Wow.
When I was going through that journey, I didn't even know that I was called donor conceived. I was Googling sperm donor baby because that was the only term that I knew for what I was.
Right.
And I didn't even know where to go. And then when I did Google, I couldn't find a lot of resources. So that's what led me to trying to create some resources for donor conceived people. And I learned a lot about the topic. I think it's one of those topics that even as parents, we don't know about it until we stumble into it somehow. And right. So that usually means people are learning about it in a time of stress or time constraint or confusion, usually surrounding something else that has prompted that research. So right. I think people tend to come to it in a place of confusion, which makes it even more important for the resources to be clear and not overwhelming. So.
Absolutely. Okay, so tell us, when typically, I mean, now that, and you would know better than I do because this is the area in which you work. Now that, right, someone was saying test tube babies, right? Test tube babies, I think, was even the term that people used to use for IVF. So tell me, the research has changed in terms of the notion that you should wait and tell your child, and now the research is all the way on the other side and saying no, these children ideally should be brought up knowing that they are donor conceived. So my question to you is, how old is your organization, and when are you finding that typically on average people are coming to you? At what age, at what point are they finding out?
So, so there's a whole category of people who are donor conceived who don't know it. So we don't really know what to do about that, right? Because they don't know to look for information that they don't even know is true about themselves.
Correct.
So we have to take that big unknown number out. And nobody knows how many donor conceived people there are. So that's the big unknown. I only work right now in my support groups. We only have members who are over 18. That's kind of the advertised thing. So we're not doing any groups yet for anyone under 18. So that naturally means that I'm not working with a large population of donor conceived people who know they're donor conceived.
Right.
The people who are joining the groups, there are people who are what we categorize as late discovery. They didn't know, and this is a surprise to them. But there are also people in the groups who have known for a long time, whether because there's in a family that's a single parent by choice or was at the time they were conceived, or their parents are a same-sex couple. So eventually it became clear that there was a conversation to have about where the gamete came from that created them. So there are people in our groups from lots of different stories and family structures.
Got it. And and so people are coming to you, why? And what kind of resources do you offer?
So I started off offering peer support groups. That was a model that I was familiar with from other public health and healthcare services and social services. And it's really great for helping people feel less alone, that I'm not the only person going through this.
Right.
I knew people who had participated in Resolve or other infertility support groups. So that was a natural progression to establish peer support groups. So we started meeting virtually over Zoom once a week. And I thought they would be 6-week groups that people would be a part of and kind of figure out their next steps. And when I launched those first 2 groups, quickly learned that there isn't one story, the path that it takes is different. So some people would find out a lot of information in the beginning, or they would decide they didn't want to pursue a lot of information in the beginning. And so the reason they were coming to the group was to work out some of those things. What do I want to do? How do I feel? Where do I go for resources? What's the difference between taking this test? How do I write a letter? What's the best way to find this information? So a lot of information sharing, and then just a lot of support of, I think it will sound familiar to people who are here who are going through fertility trials. It's a lot of, am I the only person? Because all around me, I see all the people who aren't having this struggle. And so it can be very isolating. So people coming to the groups, they will have those moments of trying to find the right words for something, for their feelings or an experience, and someone else says it, and they think, oh my goodness, you know what this is like. So for example, someone talking about, they feel a lot of shame about it. There's like a secrecy about it. You know what I did after I found out that I was donor conceived? I stared in the bathroom mirror for 20 minutes looking at all my features. Where did my eyebrows come from? Where did my nose come from? Whose eyes where are these eyes? I looked at my ears, and they would talk about this experience of studying themselves in the mirror for the first time after this discovery, feeling like an alien in their own body.
Wow.
And feeling scared of what is on the other side of this discovery. And then someone else in the group says, I did the same thing.
Wow. I just got chills. Yeah.
So that moment that you can't describe very easily to other people suddenly has a connection with somebody else. You know, in our group, they would say, I just dropped a letter in the mailbox. I'm going to try to not check my email every hour. I've put a limit of checking every hour. And that connection for somebody who is going through IVF and saying, I'm gonna wait to take the pregnancy test until this day.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
you know, and
Totally.
and all the tricks for managing the waiting. And I think it's important for people to know that there's so many common experiences, because it does help you get through the parts that you just can't control, to know that you're not the only one. So the group started off with that aspect of peer support, and also just finding out information that normally you'd have to spend hours checking on, and then somebody else has done that research and can say, here's some ideas, or here's where you can go.
Right.
But quickly, when we started doing the groups, we added more group types because we started to see some of the common themes. Some people don't have any answers when they take a DNA test. Some have somebody responsive on the other side who will give them medical information or is willing to have a conversation. Some people get cease and desist letters. Some people have told their parents that they know. Some people are managing the secret of they know this information, but they aren't telling their parents that they know because they are afraid of their parents' reaction.
Right.
And so it takes these different turns. And so we have created more groups where there's some common themes or common experiences, and people again have a chance to talk about what they have in common. So some people have known for a long time. This is not a new discovery. So we have a group for the continued journey that they've known for a long time. Maybe something has happened in their life that makes it feel different now, or they just want to meet other people who are donor conceived. So that's a group. We have a multiracial group. We have a group for people with Jewish discoveries, whether it's a loss or they've gained Jewish ethnicity that they didn't know about. They have a group too.
Right.
So.
Incredible. Yeah. Okay. Tell people, how do they find you? How can they reach out? What is the best way? Are these groups free? Just give me a little bit about that. Sure. So that people can access you as needed.
So we have a website. It's donorconceivedcommunity.org. And there are lots of different groups to choose from there, book discussion groups. They're free for donor conceived people. We also started offering some resources for parents. We usually share those on Instagram when we host those. We found a lot of parents want to talk to someone who's donor conceived and hear their story and learn. Once they've decided to use donor conception, they want to be able to have conversations with donor conceived people. So we have hosted Ask Us Anything events where parents can ask questions or hear different stories. We will host some book discussion groups for parents who are using donor conception, or just peer support groups for parents who have used donor conception but want to have access to the perspective of donor conceived people too, so that they're at different stages of telling children, different stages of disclosing, and they want to have donor conceived people as a resource for that. So we're offering parent groups now. We'll be launching some new ones in June.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah. Melissa, thank you so much. I really, we're talking about this topic on I Was Supposed to Have a Baby, mostly from the parent angle of how it feels and all the different aspects of it. But this needed to be a piece also. And I wanted to just make sure that people have these resources so that they could reach out to you as necessary. So thank you so much for being here. And we will definitely link out and make sure that people know where to find you.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Good night, everybody. Good night.